One-Timers, getting to know the guest of Sports and More, the podcast, just a little bit more.
This is One-Timers with Rob Tychkowski from the Edmonton Sun and Edmonton Journal. Titch, are you ready for One-Timers?
I'm always ready for the one-timer.
All right. Did you have a good one-timer? Like, was your one-timer in street hockey better than it was in real hockey?
Yeah, I went to Vic Comp, and every lunch we would have the ball hockey game,
Yes.
the East Side versus West Side. Before the Rappers, stole our idea. It was, the jocks were on one side, and all the guys from the East Side, the pipe trades guys were on the other. And I played that right wing I shot left, played the right wing, the off wing, and I was ready to go. I was a superstar in that league.
Love it. Let's start with your favorite two sports growing up.
When it came to watching, I was a big boxing guy, Ali and Ray Leonard and Hagler and Hearns, Duran and all that stuff. And of course, watching hockey. If you're talking about playing, then I was loved playing fastball. And as a kid, most Canadian kids are thrown into soccer in the summer, and I didn't mind that either. But I was primarily a fastball player, boxing watcher.
All right. How about your favorite team and your favorite athlete as a kid?
Team would have been the Flyers. I just loved their uniform and their attitude, and the Kate Smith and Schultz and Selesky and all those guys, and Bernie Perrant. He had that great mask. It was on the cover of Time magazine, so they were always my team growing up. And then athlete, the greatest athlete of all time is Muhammad Ali. It's not even questioned. Like, even taking away all of the stuff that he did outside of the ring, his skill as an athlete and as a boxer is unparalleled for a heavyweight. I just watched again his fight with Foreman, and he was on the wrong side of it at that point, and he was so fast and so accurate that he was just a treat to watch. So he's far and away my favorite athlete of all time.
I remember the night he passed away. It was a Friday night. I was on the air on the TSN 1260, and it was just like, wow, you started digging into more and more and more about this guy. And it was one of the weirdest nights because nothing else really mattered because we had lost such a legend.
Yeah, and he's still, he was so revered by just everybody in sports and in life too. Like, I only saw him briefly from a great distance. It was at the Ryder Cup in Valhalla. And in Louisville, which of course is his neighborhood, and they brought him in to talk to the American team, and they had this kind of a function that we were allowed to go to, and you could see him from 50 yards away, and just the way he was surrounded with people that just adored him. So yeah, he was a great man, just on all fronts.
Yeah, very much so. All right, the opposite of that, the team and athlete you despised as a kid.
Growing up, it was the Central Red Army. I know that's not their official name. They were just the Russian national team. I hated those guys. The evil empire. I just couldn't. When that Summit Series, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. But absolutely, and even when they rolled into the Spectrum and they're going home. That was maybe one of the greatest moments of my childhood, watching the Flyers run the Russians out of the rink there. So that was probably didn't necessarily need to be the case. I think there was a lot of propaganda involved. Like, they're just hockey players, good guys like everybody else. But I bought into it at the time and absolutely hated the Red Army. And
is there a specific athlete that you didn't like as a kid? Like one guy?
I'm trying to think. Not too much, because back then, you didn't hear too much about the wrong side of athletes. They were sort of pumped up, and they were all great guys,
right,
and all upstanding citizens. So, early, like, maybe one of the early ones I didn't like was Leon Spinks. Like, where's this nobody with 11 fights get off beating Ali?
Yeah.
Didn't care for that very much, even though, hey, just showed up there and won a fight. Was no reason to hate him.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I don't remember too much about specifically having the goals, or like we were talking about earlier. When I went to high school, all my credits were in welding and pipe fitting, and I was well on the road to becoming one of Edmonton's top plumbers before I realized I did not want to be a plumber.
How about if you could be a pro in any sport? What sport would it be?
Are you talking like if I'm good at this sport? Like, yeah. I wouldn't, like, being a heavyweight champion of the world would be fun, but I would not want to be a crappy boxer. if you're talking elite, I'd probably stick with golf just because you can control your schedule and the drama of rolling in a putt at a major or just being in that mix. Not a lot of injury, and you play forever. You play as a senior with a license to print money. So I'd probably play golf if I was good at it.
Is there one athlete's life you would like to live?
This is interesting because you have to balance all the factors into it. Like, the success that he had, the money that he made, the kind of the excitement and things that he saw, not a lot of drama in his life, and come out of it with your health. So I'm thinking Mark Messier, winning 5 championships at Edmonton, growing up with that dynasty, then going to New York and winning a championship there, just being a star in the Big Apple, what that's like. And comes out of it with a lot of money, not a lot of drama and stuff in his life. I don't think he was ever married, so I think Mess had a pretty good run, and frankly is still having it.
Yeah, that's right. And anytime you can list Madonna in a past relationship, that's pretty cool life.
That's the stuff we know about, man. Like, I'm sure Mess, had a pretty good time in New York.
You've been able
and here, frankly.
Yeah, well, no kidding. He doesn't have to buy. He'll never pay for a drink almost anywhere, but especially in these two places. You've been able to witness a lot of stuff live. What's the coolest thing, or even a couple of things if you want, that you've witnessed live?
I think I was covering the 2009 Masters for the chain, and it came down to final round Sunday, and Phil and Tiger weren't in the hunt. They were about 6 strokes back. They weren't really in the mix, but they were in the same group on Sunday, and they hadn't played together a whole bunch, especially in the final round of the majors. And it kind of came down to this almost a match play situation. And no word of a lie, the gallery with Phil and Tiger was twice the size of the gallery that was following the lead group on Sunday at the Masters. It was a huge, and they're kind of friendlier now, but back then it was the full-on rivalry and the full-on grudge. And even I remember standing on the first tee box, and you could go inside the ropes as long as you went down on one knee, and people could look over your shoulder, right? So I'm sort of front row for that, and we're just waiting with the anticipation as the tee time is getting closer, and then you hear this roar off in the distance, right? And you can hear the cheers, "Come on, Phil, come on!" And it's like a ring walk where he walks through the thing, and he gets to the top of the tee box, and everybody's just going crazy for him, right? And then he's waiting a couple minutes, and then you hear another roar, and then here's all the Tiger guys. And they come up on the first tee together, and they're both standing on the tee box. And I remember, I was maybe 7 or 8 feet away, and they do this handshake, and Tiger reaches out his hand, Phil reaches out his hand, and I was looking at Tiger's face, and he was giving him just the most wicked death stare that you could ever give in sports, right? Wow. And then Phil knew that it was coming, didn't even look him in the eyes. Was like, whatever, dude. Shook his hand and didn't even buy into it. And they had this, this. It wasn't for the green jacket, but it was still a nice head-to-head battle. And Phil beat him by 1 or 2 strokes. And to let you know what his man Tiger just slammed the trunk and left. Didn't even do any interviews after the thing was over. So that was probably one of the coolest things I've seen. And also, covering the 2010 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach was a lot of fun too. Just the scenery and it being a U.S. Open, and Tiger and Nicholson and Els and all those guys are there. So those two probably, and some hockey. But I'm a big golf guy, and that's something you don't do a lot of. So that's probably why those two things stand out.
How about from when you were a kid? You mentioned the they're going home moment. What's a memory that sticks out as a sports fan from being a kid?
The earliest one would have been the '72 Summit Series. We were going back and forth, and I had a bet for 10 cents with Kevin Lambert, who lived across the street, that Canada would win, and they did, and he never paid me, so he still owes me that time, and I want it if I ever see the guy. But that was the first time that I really got involved in sports, and that was, it still is. I've watched the documentary on that series a couple of times, and it's amazing. The hockey is bizarre what they were allowed to get away with back then. Yeah. But it was one of maybe the biggest sporting event in Canadian history.
Well, you being a Flyers fan, knowing what Bobby Clarke was capable of doing at that time, it's insane.
Yeah, and they were complaining about the penalties that they did receive. In this day and age, none of those guys would have made it to Game 8 because they would have all been suspended. It was just nuts what they were doing.
Right.
But, you watch it now and you're halfway sympathetic to the Russians. Like, they came over here and showed speed and skill, trying to maybe play like the Oilers did, and these guys are tomahawk chopping and cross checking them and elbowing them in the head and the whole deal. What the hell did we get ourselves into?
The thing I love about that time period is that's when we didn't know anything about the Russians. There was no internet. There was no hockey DB on we could look up about Larionov or anything. Like, the Canada Cups in the 80s, for me, is some of my fondest memories, because I was just like, who is this guy that's, who are these 5-man units that are coming out here like this? It was so awesome. Whereas now we're spoiled with the information we have on everybody.
Yeah, they were kind of sold to us as these faceless robots that all came from some factory and didn't have any feeling or emotion, and were just, these evil people that were somehow cheating, even though we don't know how or why, but something ain't right because they're Russians, right? But yeah, they're just the same as the Canadian guys were, just a bunch of guys who like to play hockey and are having some fun playing for their country. Yeah. Those Canada Cups were amazing too. Like, the Oilers made up a lot of those teams back in their heyday, and it was that was some great theater as well.
Yeah, seeing the Oilers and the Islanders have to become teammates like months after they just played each other in the Stanley Cup Finals was quite interesting. When it comes to music, favorite band or artist?
I listen to everything. I'm one of those people that, like, I go from Nora Jones to classical violin to G Unit, Kid Rock, Motorhead,
Nice.
Black Sabbath, right? So it just depends on your mood. So I'm thinking if I'm desert island music, I'm looking for somebody with like a really large catalog that covers all the spectrums from slow to blues to rock to heavy. So I'd probably go with the Rolling Stones. They have a ton of songs, and they can take you from a ballad to Sympathy for the Devil and Give Me Shelter and all that sort of thing. So I'd probably go with them.
Nice. When you were a kid, what movie did you love to watch?
Rocky that was huge. Like, even still, if there's a Rocky 7 coming out, I'm going to check it out. I just enjoyed the genre. It was so stupid, but the first few were all right. Like 1 and 2 were good, and then being a kid that loved boxing, and the movie came out. And when I was playing hockey and baseball, my nickname in the neighborhood was Rocky at the time before the movie came out. So automatically I was sort of attached to that. So yeah, definitely Rocky. Now it's Goodfellas for obvious reasons. That's an all-time classic. But back then it was Rocky.
What about right now? What are you watching as far as like streaming shows or TV series or anything like that currently? What catches your eye?
I always try to check in on The Sopranos from time to time, just grab it anywhere, whether mid-season or at the start. But The Last Dance came out, the Jordan thing, so that's kind of one that I'm really, really enjoying. It's great to see some people talking honestly about what happened. I would love to see something like that about the Oilers, where somebody talks about what actually happened during those times, what the guys are actually feeling. But they've done a good job so far with this Jordan.
Yeah, like the 88 season would be amazing, because Gretzky, knowing that was his last Stanley Cup, organizing that picture. And the thing about the Last Dance, can you imagine if Mark Messier or Yeri Curry were the 128th ranked paid player in the NHL during that heyday, like Scottie Pippen was?
I feel bad for that guy. Like, and the owner claims to say that, I don't sign the contract, you're undervaluing yourself. That doesn't sound like something an owner would ever say.
No.
But I'll take him at his word. But I would, he's got nobody to blame but himself, but that's got to be frustrating. You're one of the top handful of players in the world, and you're locked in forever at that rate. That's got to be tough.
Yeah. If you could have a meal with anybody in history, who would it be?
This is a weird one. You might sound stupid, like I'm wasting a meal, but I would want to sit down with Lee Harvey Oswald and find out what the hell happened.
Wow.
I'm a big Kennedy conspiracy guy, and I would want to sit down and say, okay, let's have it, and get that whole thing, because that goes deep from the cover up in the Warren report to the impossible shots happening. Like, something wasn't right, and I would love to hear exactly what happened and who was involved and how high up it went.
That's beautiful. If there was a movie about your life, who would you want to play Rob Tychkowski?
Well, my favorite actor is De Niro, but I do not see any similarities between us whatsoever. Maybe Al Pacino. He's a multi guy.
Yeah.
that might work.
Okay, you're a big golf guy. Fill out your dream foursome. You and 3 others.
Yeah, okay. I wanted a U.S. president in there because I have a ton of questions about life behind the scenes and the political stuff and all that. So I'll go with Barack Obama. He's outspoken and pretty easygoing guy. Muhammad Ali, obviously, just because he's Ali and he's my favorite. And then I would want to just somebody who would have good stories and also hit incredible golf shots that I could see up close. So it'd be Tiger Woods. So me, Barack Obama, Ali, and Tiger Woods. And I just realized I'd be the only white guy in that foursome.
That's right. Yeah,
that would be interesting.
That's a fun way to spend 4.5 hours, though, man. With those guys, you would just sit back and listen.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody has, like, you know, Obama, he's talking about world leaders and how the nuclear codes work and, you know, the Air Force One and his limos. And Tiger's talking about, you know, just golf and Masters and all his life behind the scenes. And, you know, Ali and his fights with Fraser and Foreman and the civil rights stuff. Like, those 3 dudes would have a lot to talk about. So.
And Ali, the nonstop chirping of getting in the heads of Obama and Tiger Woods. Can you imagine Ali on a tee box? The way he could go, like, it would be amazing to listen to.
These 3 guys would have the best banter you would ever have from a group because Obama's sharp. Like, you don't get to be like, well, I guess you do get to be president by being stupid. Like, look who's there now. But generally speaking, he's a brilliant guy, very witty, very sharp. Ali is one of the sharpest ever, and you know, Tiger. I'll bet you Ali and Barack would be all over Tiger, like that whole thing, grinding him about stuff. But yeah, it'd be a ton of fun. Like I would really enjoy that.
I like that. All right, last one. Favorite vacation spot.
I love, like, San Diego's just fantastic. I love, you know, the ocean's great, or, you know, closer to home, Jasper. Just something majestic and natural, whether it's the ocean or the mountains. Either one of those would absolutely do it for me. I could sit there and stare at the ocean for hours. Like,
I'm with you on the ocean and the mountains too. I could have the worst golf day ever, but if it's in the mountains, I can enjoy it.
Yeah, JPL, right?
Yeah, no kidding. This has been One Timers with Rob Tychkowski of the Edmonton Sun and Edmonton Journal. You can check out his full episode at sportsandmore.ca.
This has been One Timers on Sports and More, the podcast. Check out full episodes and more at www.sportsandmore.ca.